and welcome to day 4 of the Whimsical Wealth Activation series, where we're continuing our adventures and expanding your money magnetism. When I went into your energy field today, this is what came through. I saw a frog that was hopping around on the ground, and frogs often represent transformation and quantum leaps. I said, "Hey, little guy, where are you going?" As we were following him, he turned into a British man, and he said, "I think I'd like a spot of tea." And he reminded me of Bert from Mary Poppins. If you want to look him up, he was played by Dick Van Dyke. And him and I and you were sitting at a table drinking tea with one another, basically inviting us to hear these messages today. And I said, "What would you like to discuss?" And he said, "Unrequited love." So the definition of unrequited love is having one-sided feelings, kind of like is depicted in Mary Poppins, at least in the original movie. I think in the second one too, but anyway. So in the first movie, Bert has romantic feelings, or is interpreted to have romantic feelings towards Mary Poppins, but she sees him in more of a platonic friendship manner. And I said, "Well, what does that have to do with our money magnetism?" And you looked at me and said, "We love large sums of money, but do large sums of money love us?" So we have been having an unrequited love behavioral cycle running in the background. I said, "Okay, I want you to think about a really big pile of cash, like we would be looking at a giant pile of leaves outside, like that you would rake up." And I said, "What are some key describers of this pile of leaves or cash?" And you said fun, opportunities, and messy. I said, "Oh, that last one was very interesting. Why did you choose that word?" I said, "Money sees you how you see it." So money is also seeing you through that lens of fun, full of opportunities, and also messy. I said, "What does messy mean to you?" And you said disorganized. I said, "Okay, is that necessarily a bad thing to be disorganized or messy?" I said, "When is it actually fun to be messy?" And you thought about it for a second, and this is when we started getting in our inner child-like state of being. And you said, "It's fun to splash around in the ocean, blow bubbles, throw confetti, laugh so hard that you're crying, having a food fight, or splatter paint." I said, "Well, what do all of those things give people?" And you said joy with a big smile on your face. I said, "Okay, so we're feeling a little bit better about that word in the definition." I said, "What do you think being messy has to do with large sums of money? What's the correlation?" And you said causing problems. So that let me know that somewhere along our life, we picked up the belief that having too much fun or joy will be our downfall. And this could have started in childhood with our caregivers, or having issues with money in the past. So equating it with, if I have more of it, then I'll just be messier more with it. And I said, "Well, what do you think that these versions of you need to hear? Whether it started in childhood with having too much fun and too much joy and it causing problems, or having issues with money in the past. What do these versions of you need to hear today?" So this is you stepping up into that future self form, okay, or what we call as the higher self. And you looked at your inner child and said, "It's okay to be messy. That's what I'm here for, to have messy fun with you and to help you be more organized. But let's stop holding guilt over anything that has happened in the past, because today is a new day, a day full of fun, opportunities, organization, and messy adventures. We can bring them all into balance and harmony." Then your inner child ran over and jumped into the leaves and the large pile of cash. And they said, "I love you, money." And I said, that's how large sums of money feel about you too. The greater overall message here is redirecting the energy in what we consider to be messy, because that doesn't always equate negativity. It can also be a very positive thing if we couple it with being organized and fun and opportunities. They all have a place at the, we'll say, tea table and can enjoy each other for different reasons. That's where you come in as the future self to these past versions and say, I'm not holding any type of guilt over what has happened in the past, because that's not currently happening. What is currently happening is us having really positive reflections towards money, and then money having positive reflections back towards us. Some self-reflection questions that your future self wants you to ask yourself. First question: what part of you still believes things need to be in order before more abundance flows? And what might open up if you invited it to arrive mid-messiness? Second question: if you threw money a surprise party, what theme would you choose to reflect your relationship? A mysterious acquaintance, a long-lost friend, or a full-on celebration for your bestie? So we want to invite these reflections to fuel our imagination today and get ready for day 5's activation tomorrow, where we'll keep on expanding the flow of abundance.